a brand new episode of Law and Batting Order. I'm your host, Tony Iliakostas. Here are some quick hits from the past 3 weeks. Much has happened in the past 3 weeks since the last episode of Law and Batting Order, and one of the more notable stories has been the progress of this year's NFL season. The NFL finally reached a resolution with the NFL Referees Association as the NFL finally cut off ties with the entirely inaccurate NFL replacement referees. What especially spawned this new deal was the debacle that took place in Week 3's Monday night matchup between the Packers and the Seahawks when replacement refs mistakenly called a Packers interception a touchdown for the Seahawks at the conclusion of the game. Otherwise, teams continue to play impressive ball, including the Texans and the Falcons, who enter Week 6 as the only 5-0 teams. And yes, the Browns are still winless. The MLB season has ended and we are deep in the playoffs. Over in the National League, the San Francisco Giants beat the NL Central champion Cincinnati Reds, while the Cardinals beat the Nationals and will face each other in the National League Championship Series. Over in the AL, the Detroit Tigers beat the Oakland Athletics and will face the New York Yankees after the Yankees successfully defeated the Baltimore Orioles in the ALDS. Whoever wins each respective league championship series will advance to the World Series. While there is jubilee in the NFL and Major League Baseball, the NHL has been rather somber as the lockout is still in progress. According to reports, the dispute between the league and the Players Association is still regarding collective bargaining rights between the parties. Both sides have also negotiated terms regarding drug testing and free agency. However, progress still has to be made, and unfortunately the NHL season should have started a few days ago, but the lockout has barred the NHL season from commencing. Much more has yet to be determined regarding the hockey season, but many fans are hoping that a resolution will come soon. Today's Order in the Court will be discussing Roger Goodell and his authority as the commissioner of the NFL. If you recall a few weeks ago, an independent arbitration panel reviewed the punishments of 4 current and former Saints players who are believed to have played key roles in the New Orleans Saints bounty fund. These players were Jonathan Vilma, Anthony Hargrove, Scott Fujita, and Will Smith. This panel concluded that Roger Goodell lacked the authority to punish these players so harshly and further decided to overturn their current punishments and have their punishments re-reviewed by the commissioner. However, earlier this week, Roger Goodell barely made any changes to the punishments. Jonathan Vilma's season-long suspension and Will Smith's 4-game suspension stayed the same, while Anthony Hargrove's punishment was reduced from 8 games to 7 games, and Scott Fujita's punishment was revised to a 1-game suspension. These players have filed an appeal asking that Commissioner Goodell remove himself from this case after he has failed to be impartial and unbiased in this case. This situation has created a great deal of debate by players, journalists, and especially fans regarding the autonomic power of Roger Goodell. He has shown himself, especially since Bountygate, to be a very strict disciplinarian, and it has raised questions regarding whether or not the NFL commissioner has too much power. In today's episode, I'll discuss Roger Goodell's power as the NFL commissioner as defined in the NFL's constitution and bylaws, and whether or not we could potentially see legal ramifications questioning Roger Goodell's authority as a result of Bountygate. Typically in sports leagues, there is a clause contained in the sports constitution and bylaws called the Best Interest in the Sport Clause, which designates certain powers to the commissioner of a respective league or sport. These powers include disciplinary power and financial authority. In the case of the NFL, the Best Interest in the Sport Clause is contained in Section 8.3, stating in relevant part the following. The commissioner shall have full, complete, and final jurisdiction and authority to arbitrate any dispute between any player, coach, and or other employee of any member of the league, or any combination thereof, and any member, club, or clubs, and any dispute involving a member or members in the league, or any players or employees of the members of the league, or any combination thereof, that in the opinion of the commissioner constitutes conduct detrimental to the best interests of the league or professional football. Section 8.13 lays out the disciplinary actions that the commissioner has, which include fines and player suspensions. Based on the language laid out in Section 8.3 of the NFL Constitution and Bylaws, the commissioner is judge, jury, and executioner, and all disciplinary matters are in his hands and are determined based on what is in the best interest of the sport. Keep in mind, however, that our legal system has questioned the power of the commissioner as laid out in the best interest of the sport clause. The most notable case on this matter is Finley versus Kuhn. The case dealt with then Oakland A's owner Charles Finley, who attempted to trade Joe Rudi, Raleigh Fingers, and Vida Blue to the Red Sox and the Yankees in 1976. However, then MLB Commissioner Bowie Kuhn stopped this trade after he deemed the trade to be inconsistent with the best interest of baseball and the integrity of the game. Finley and the athletics organization alleged that Kuhn acted arbitrarily, capriciously, and unreasonably as the MLB commissioner by canceling this trade. However, the Seventh Circuit held in this decision that according to the MLB Constitution, Commissioner Kuhn was granted broad authority to determine if any act, transaction, or practice is not in the best interest of baseball. The cancellation of the trade was not the result of any abuse of authority by Commissioner Kuhn. The Seventh Circuit also determined that Commissioner Kuhn acted in good faith after investigating, consulting, and deliberating in such a way that his decision to cancel Oakland's trade was in the best interest of baseball, since it was Kuhn's intent to preserve the competitive nature of the sport. Similarly, in the case of Roger Goodell and the current situation with Bountygate, one can read Commissioner Goodell's authority to be broad according to the NFL Constitution. Because of the grave nature of the Saints Bounty Fund, it could be argued that it was in the best interest of football to punish these principal characters in the Bounty Fund. However, the question is if this authority is necessarily in the best interest of football. After all, Jonathan Vilma, Scott Fujita, and the NFLPA have all argued that Commissioner Goodell lacked sufficient evidence to show that these four Saints players were involved in any way with the Bounty Fund. If this is the case, then it further supports the claim that Goodell abused his authority as commissioner. However, as seen in Finley versus Kuhn, the commissioner has broad authority so long as the sports constitution grants this type of authority to the commissioner. Such broad authority exists here. Nevertheless, the dispute regarding Bountygate and Roger Goodell's dictatorial power continues, and it will be especially interesting to see if any amendments are made to the NFL Constitution regarding the manner in which the commissioner punishes players. Before I wrap up today's episode, I wanted to make a quick announcement. On Friday, November 2nd, New York Law School Sports Law Society will be hosting its 4th annual Sports Law Symposium. The event will feature a plethora of wonderful panelists, including New York Times journalist Alan Schwartz, Sports Illustrated legal columnist Michael McCann, Boston Celtics assistant GM Mike Zarin, and sports attorney Darren Heitner, who was a guest on Law and Batting Order. If you're a law school student, a sports law buff, or a legal professional and plan on being in New York City on November 2nd, do not miss out on this opportunity to network and listen to some great discussions. Visit www.nyls.edu/sportslaw to register and be a part of this phenomenal event. Anyway, that's the show. Leave all your comments down below, and be sure to visit Law and Batting Order at lawandbattingorder.com, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Take care, guys.